Alberta Reads Book Club has picked your book of poetry entitled Exhibit for its March-April 2021 selection. I have to say it's a fascinating read and a use of poetry and even types of poetry that, at least to my eyes and ears, feels strange, intense, and even somewhat disorienting. It's really quite fascinating. Now, Exhibit recounts a murder trial in southern Alberta in the 1920s involving the death of a brother, apparently by his sister. The two of them were living in houses at Drumheller side by side. I mean, what even drew your attention to this story in the first place? It's so obscure that it's hard to find any information about it.
Yeah, no, definitely that's true, and I hear that a lot from people. People will read the book and want to learn a little bit more on their own, and they'll go to the internet and learn absolutely nothing. I ended up developing a bit of a curiosity about crime. I've always had a bit of an interest in true crime stories, and for this particular book, I thought, well, I'm going to look into what was crime like in Calgary in the early 20th century. So I found myself going to the archives at the Glenbow Museum, and I was just kind of digging around. I was just kind of poking around in the fonds of a prominent Calgary-based attorney in the early 20th century. And I found just it looked like a part of a court transcript that had just been torn from the whole. It was about 12 pages long, and it was basically the point in the trial where Margaret MacPhail was being interviewed. So I was capturing or I was reading the questions that she was being asked, and I was seeing her responses to it. And essentially that's basically where it started. It was just this. Just really by chance kind of discovery. But again, it was just left to those 12 pages. And so I had to kind of decide if I want to just leave it at that and have it go nowhere or to kind of pursue it. But it was just honestly, it was just a series of kind of chance discoveries over the course of a few months.
It's fascinating. One of the things that you've discussed this before publicly, but one of the things I found intriguing is that you yourself to this day do not know if Margaret MacPhail was found guilty or not.
Yeah, and that was, I mean, it was deliberate at the start. You know, I kind of wanted to give myself the experience of a judge or a jurist, kind of discovering information and being exposed to evidence. Over the course of the trial, I wanted to give myself that experience. I didn't want to have any kind of bias going into writing it. So I deliberately I decided that I would proceed with the project without that information, so I could sort of avoid that bias. And then once it was done, I kind of thought, well, I could easily figure it out. And I keep asking people, you know, if anybody wants to find out what it is and wants to tell me, I'm open to that, but I'm not going to go out of my way to find out how the trial concluded.
Just to give our viewers a sense of the interesting environment and flavor that you've created, I was wondering if I might ask you to give us a short excerpt from the book itself.
Yeah, for sure. So I was thinking about this, and I will read a piece. It's a shorter piece from a section of the book called Exhibit C, and the poem is called. This is kind of how in a trial transcript you'll see the information is sort of. You'll get an A for a response, and then you'll get an initial for who's asking the question. So this indicates that this is Margaret MacPhail responding to a question. So the title becomes, "I felt to see whether his hands were warm. I tried to keep him alive." I like this piece because it's a moment where there's kind of like a bit of it's kind of a warm moment between Margaret and her brother, when she's kind of discovering her body or in interaction with his body on the ground. His hands had lost their snow coats. She burnt her finger on the inside of Alex's lip. On Alex's tongue, she felt the belly of a dog, the stiff, cold belly of a dog. She felt the stiff leg of a dog. She had been breaking apple stems. She felt the eyes had stupid expressions, so she placed tinfoil in the eye sockets and gave them a partial water bath by means of a small watering can. The stars began to tremble against them as on a dark sky, and the pupils shattered into 100 grains of wheat. Alex's cheeks were red from the exercise. She fanned away frigorific rays. She turned his hair inwards. She blackened his bottom. She imagined his brain like clothes warmed from the sun burning through a suitcase. Alex became the fur of several delicate animals, a rising moon with no features, and in the wrong part of the sky, a traffic cone, a rotten sunset. She felt confined in a metallic vessel. She felt the freezing slats of a bench on her bottom.